ॐ श्रीकृष्ण शरणं मम गोपिका जीवनस्मरणं गोविन्दा गोविन्दा सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। नमो नमः सद्गुरुभ्यः सद्गुरुभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो नमः सद्गुरुभ्यः सद्गुरुभ्यो नमो नमः। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रय विनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरह कातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुः तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। यस्वानुभावमखिलश्रुतिसारमेकम् अध्यात्मदीपमतितीर्षतां तमोन्धं संसारिणां करुणयाः पुराणगुह्यं तं व्याससूनुमुपयामि गुरुं मुनीनां। योगीन्द्राय नमस्तस्मै शुकाय ब्रह्मरूपिणे संसारसर्पदष्टं यो विष्णुरातममुमुचत् कालव्यालमुखग्रास त्रासनिर्नाशहेतवे श्रीमद्भागवतं शास्त्रं कलौकीरेण भाषितम् एतस्मादपरं किञ्चित् मनःशुद्ध्यै न विद्यते जन्मान्तरे भवेत् पुण्यं तदा भागवतं लभेत् ज्ञानवैराग्यसम्पूर्णान् हरिभक्तिपरायणान् पूर्वाचार्यातहं वन्दे सम्प्रदायप्रवर्तकान् भगवन्नाम साम्राज्य लक्ष्मी सर्वस्वविग्रहं श्रीमद्बोधेन्द्रयोगीन्द्र देशिकेन्द्रम् उपास्महे। कलिकालोचितं धर्मं नाम संकीर्तनात्मकं निर्णेतुमवतीर्णं तं प्रेमिकं सद्गुरुं भजे। हरे रामेति कृष्णेति नाम संकीर्तनं सदा लोकक्षेमाय कुर्वन्तं प्रेमिकं सद्गुरुं भजे। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्तेष्वभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि धर्मः प्रोज्झितकैतवोऽत्र परमो निर्मत्सराणां सतां वेद्यं वास्तवमत्र वस्तु शिवधं तापत्रयोन्मूलनं श्रीमद्भागवते महामुनिकृते किं वा परैरीश्वरः सद्यो हृद्यवरुध्यते प्रकृतिभिः शुश्रूषिभिस्तत्क्षणात् निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखात् अमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। श्रीमद्भागवताख्योऽयं प्रत्यक्षः कृष्ण एव हि स्वीकृतोऽसि मया नाथ मुक्त्यर्थं भवसागरे मनोरथो मदीयोऽयं सफलः सर्वदा त्वया निर्विघ्नेनैव कर्तव्यो दासोऽहं तव केशव। श्रीहरये नमः श्रीहरये नमः श्रीहरये नमः। गोपिका जीवनस्मरणं गोविन्दा गोविन्दा। Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so we'll just do a quick review, I think from 14 through 45 of chapter 3. Maybe Sriram, can you do one half, and Vasu, can you do one half, 15 each?
Yeah, sure. Sure, Rajesh. Can I do 14 to 14
yeah.
to?
Yeah, you can do 14 to 29 or 29, yeah.
14 to 29. Okay. Rishibiryachido beje navamam parthivam babuhu dukte ma moshidir pipra denayam savusuttamah rubam sajagruhe matyasyam sakshishodadi samblave navyaropya mahimayam abatvai vaswadam manum surasuranam mudatim matnadam mantarachalam तत्रे कमडरूपेण पृष्ठ एकादशे विभुः तान्वन्त्रं द्वादशमं त्रयोदशममेव च अभाययत् सुरानान्यान् मोहिन्या मोहयन् स्त्रिया चतुर्दशं नारसिंहं विप्रत्यैत्येन्द्रमूर्छितं ददार करजैर्वक्षस् एरकां कडकृत्यता पञ्चदशं वामनकं कृत्वागात् अत्वरं बलेः पदत्रयं यासमानः प्रत्यादित्सुस्त्रिविष्टभम् अवधारे षोडशमे पश्यन् ब्रह्मद्रोहो नृपान् त्रिसप्त कृत्वा कुपितो क्षत्रम् अकोरान्वगीम्.
And after kupito, it's pause. Trisapta kritva kupito nihi kshatram mahim.
Okay. Avadare षोडशमे पश्यन् ब्रह्मद्रोहो नृपान् त्रिसप्त कृत्वा कुपितो निक्षत्राम् अकरान् महीम्.
And the nihi, you can say that, and the visarga Sriram, nihi kshatram, because the ksha is coming, right? So nihi kshatram.
Oh, yeah, correct. त्रिसप्त कृत्वा कुपितो निहि क्षत्राम् अकरोन् महीम्. ततः सप्तदशे जातः सत्यवद्यां परासरात् सक्रे वेदधरो काकाः तिष्ट्वा पुंसोऽल्पमदेशः नरदेवत्वाम् आभन्नः सुरकार्या सिकीर्षया समुद्रनिग्रहादीनि सक्रे वीर्यान्नदः परम् एकोनविंशतिमे वृष्णिषु प्राप्य जन्मनि रामकृष्णा विधिभुवो भगवान् हरत्परम् तदक्लौ सम्प्रवृत्ते सम्मोहाय सुरद्विषां बुद्धो नाम्ना जनसुदः कीकडेषु भविष्यति अदासौ युगसन्ध्यायां तस्यु प्रायेषु राजसु जनिता विष्णु यशसो नाम again break or no?
After that only, after Vishnu Yashaso.
Oh, sorry, come up with अदासौ युगसन्ध्यायां तस्यु प्रायेषु राजसु जनिता विष्णु यशसो नाम्ना कल्कीर्जगत्पतिः अवदाराह्यः संज्ञोयाः हरेस्तत्त्वनितेर्द्विजाः यदा विदासिनकुल्याः सरसस्युसहस्रशः.
And the first line, Sriram, Hyasankheyaha.
Avatara Hyasankheyaha.
Yeah, correct.
Are sattva nidertha vijaha yada vidasina kulyaha sarasasyu sahasrasaha. Rishi, எத்தனை வரைக்கும் படிக்கணும் ராஜேஷ்?
I think 29.
Okay. ऋषयो मनवो देवाः मनुपुत्रा महाजसः कला सर्व हरेरेव स प्रजापतयस्तदा एदे सांसकलाः पुंसः कृष्णस्तु भगवान् स्वयं इन्द्रारि व्याकुलं लोकं मृडयन्ति युगे युगे जन्मगुह्यं भगवतो ये एतत् प्रयतो नरः सायं प्रादर्कृणन् भक्त्या அது துக்கு அப்புறம் ஒரு விசர்க்கம்
இல்ல அந்த இஹ் சவுண்ட் very like dukkha, and dukkha அது that's a very small ich sound in between that, so dukkha gramaad vimuchyate.
जन्मगुह्यं भगवतो ये एतत् प्रयतो नरः सायं प्रादर्कृणन् भक्त्या दुःखग्रामात् विमुच्यते.
Okay, 30 lines சொல்லணுமா ராஜேஷ்?
Yeah.
Okay. एतत् रूपं भगवतो ह्यरूपस्य चिदात्मनः माया गुणैर्विरचितं महादाद्भिरात्मनि यथा नाभसि मेघौघो रेणूर्वा தானே இது? रेणुर्वा पातिवो निलै एवं द्रष्टारि दृश्यत्वम् आरोपितम् आरोपितम् अद्भुतिभिः
आरोपितम् अबुद्धिभिः
आरोपितम् अबुद्धिभिः अतः परं यद् अव्यक्तम् अव्युद्ध गुण व्यूहितम् अदृष्टाश्रुत वस्तुत्वात् सजीवो यत् पुनर्भवः यत्रे मे सद्रूपे सद्रूपे தானே கரெக்டா தான் படிக்கிறேன். Okay, okay.
easy to say sarasad roope if it's easier.
Okay. यत्रे मे सदसद्रूपे प्रातिसिद्धे स्वसंविधा अविद्ययात्मनि कृते इति तद्ब्रह्म दर्शनम् यद्येषो परता देवी माया वैशारधीमतिः सम्पन्न एवेति विदुः महिं विश्वै महीयते एवं जन्मानि कर्माणि ह्यकर्तुराज्ञयस्य च वर्णयन्ति स्म कवयो वेदगुह्यानि हृत्पतेः.
And the on the second and the first line la hyakartur ajanasya cha.
Okay, நான் janasya cha சொல்லிட்டேனோ?
Yeah, that's right. Hyakartur ajanasya cha can say it together also, but I think you broke it there at the ir, but and the a did not come out at that point.
Okay. Hyakartur ajanasya cha वर्णयन्ति स्म कवयो वेदगुह्यानि हृत्पतेः स वा इदं विश्वम् अमोघलीलाः श्रीजत्यवत्याति न सज्ज तस्मिन् न सज्ज श्रीजत्यवत्याति न सज्ज तेस्मिन् भूतेषु चान्तर्हित आत्मतन्त्रः शाद्वर्गिकं जिह्रति षद्गुणेशः.
And the leelaha, I think you said leelaha. Leelaha, yeah.
अमोघलीलः. Okay. नाचास्य कश्चिन्निपुणेन धातुः अवैति जन्तुः कुमनीश ऊतिः नामानि रूपाणि मनोवचोभिः सन्तन्वतो नाथ चर्यम् इवज्ञः स वेदधातुः पदविं परस्य धुरन्तवीर्यस्य रताज्ञपानेः यो मायया सन्ततयानुवृत्त्या भजेत तत्पाद सरोजगन्धम् अतेह धन्या भगवन्त इत्थं यत् वासुदेवे किल लोकनाथे कुर्वन्ति सर्वात्मकमात्मभावं न यत्र भूयः परिवत्र उग्रः इदं भगवतं नाम पुराणं ब्रह्म संहित
idam bhagavatam nama.
Okay, that's why I always make a mistake. Idam bhagavatam nama puranam brahma samhitam uttama shloka charitam chakra uttama.
I think you lost the tune and the because of the long line and it went to the short line, right? So just try that again, right?
Okay. Idham bhagavatam nama puranam brahma samhitam uttama shloka charitam ஏதோ டியூன் மிஸ் ஆகுதுல்ல எனக்கு.
இதம் பாகவதம் நாம புராணம் பிரம்ம சம்மிதம் உத்தம ஸ்லோக சரிதம்.
Okay. இதம் பாகவதம் நாம புராணம் பிரம்ம சம்மிதம் உத்தம ஸ்லோக சரிதம் சகார भगवान् ऋषिः चकार भगवान् ऋषिः निःश्रेयसाय लोकस्य धन्यं स्वत्यायनं महत् तदीदं ग्राहयामास सुतम् आत्मयतां वरं सर्ववेदेतिहासानां शारं समुद्धृतं स तु संश्रायय वयामास महाराजं परिष्कृतं
Parikshitam.
Parikshitam Prayopavishitam Gangayam Paritam Paramarshibhihi Krishe Krishne Swada Mopagate Dharma Jnana Dibissaha Kalau Nashta Drishamesha Puranar Kodunoditaha Tatra Kitayato Viprasher Bhuri Tejasaham.
The second line, Vipra Kirtayato Vipra.
Okay. Tatra Kritya Yato Viprashe Bhuri Tejasaha Aham Chadyagamam Tatra Nivishtas Tad Anugrahat. So aham தான் இப்படிதான் சொல்லணும் அது.
Soham, in one flow, Soham.
Okay. Soham vas Shravayishyami Yatadhitam Yatamati Iti Srimad Bhagavate Mahapurane Paramahamsyam Samhitayam Pratamaskande Naimishiyopa எப்படி சொல்லுவாங்க? Naimishiyopa.
Yeah, you have to say it together because Naimishiya Upakyane, multiple words there. So Naimishiyopakyane.
Naimishiyopakyane Tritiyodhyayaha.
Yeah. And then the Paramahamsyam, okay. And you said Paramahamsyam. I think like Devi Mahatma, some places you say A instead of A, some places you say instead of A, you say A.
Yeah, I have to correct that. Yep, perfect.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Okay, that was the only thing. I think in few places I was just noticing on the same thing, right? Sanskrit, you're using Sanskrit or English?
Yeah, அதாவது ஏதோ நான் சொல்லும்போது நான் ஆ சொல்றேன்னு நினைச்சுக்கிறேன், பட் ஆனா நான் ஸ்மால் ஆ போட்டுறேன்.
That is only consistent place. Instead of A, you say A in some place. Instead of A, you say just A. Like Paramahamsya, we said Paramahamsya, right?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, so we'll start with fourth. So we'll split the meaning into two, right? We'll first do one half meaning, then we'll do half of four, then we'll finish the rest of four, right? So first half, Sabita, you can be student, and Gopiji, you can be student. Okay, so in the third one, the third chapter, right? We saw how Sutta Puranika spoke about the various incarnations. He kind of gave an executive summary of all the incarnations very quickly, right? So when he finished saying about all of that, and he summarized it by saying that, there is no count. So he said, Avatara he sankheyaha, there's asankyaha, there's so many, you cannot count it, right? But these are the critical ones. So when he spoke about it, then the Shaunaka Muni and everybody else who was there, they kind of addressed him saying, Sutta Puranika, you are so fortunate. We are so fortunate that you are there amongst us, right? And you are the only person right now, who can actually speak and recite all of this information that you have learned. So they go on to say, we are very excited to learn about Srimad Bhagavatam because you spoke about all of this. He spoke about that upfront and he then gave very quick answers, right? So he said, we really want to hear what you heard from Shuka Brahman when you heard directly from him about Bhagavatam. So we want to hear about that. But then they also ask a few questions. So, they first say, okay, before you get into the details of everything, you answer a few questions for us, right? They start off by saying, when did this Srimad Bhagavatam, when was that communicated to Parikshit, right? So with Shuka Brahman, when did he say that? In which place did he say that? And why did he first of all say that? Kind of start from why this whole thing happened. Start from there. Then the second one, they ask about like 7 or 8 questions. The second question they ask is, Krishna Dvaipayana, which is Vyasa, how did he get the inspiration to compile this literature, right? So whatever we learned in Bhagavata Mahatmyam, you keep it aside, right? And just see what has gone through so far, right? So far, Vyasa has not been introduced. Why he wrote Bhagavatam has not been introduced. So that's why all these questions are coming, because it's going to come now. When we saw the Mahatmyam, we already touched upon it because that was around the greatness of Mahatmyam, where some of these things already we covered. But anyway, so he's asking, why did Krishna Dvaipayana compile this? What was the inspiration for him to do this? And then they talk about, which we saw earlier, the story when Vyasa and Shuka Brahman were walking, when Vyasa was calling out to Shuka Brahman, they crossed a river where all these women were actually taking bath. But when Shuka Brahman was 16 years old, was walking naked, the women did not seem to mind. But when Vyasacharya, who's so old, was walking, the women ended up covering themselves, right? So that was a greatness of Shuka Brahman who was there. So when Vyasa went and asked the women, they said that, Shukha Brahman did not see any difference between man and women, but for Vyasa, they did not feel that level of confidence, right? So they're kind of talking through that. So Shukha Brahman, who is such a great personality, he's an Avaduta who doesn't, who walks around, right, as like a normal human being. So when he comes to meet Parikshit, right, because Parikshit was wandering around looking, and we'll see that coming later, how did people even recognize who Shukha Brahman is? Because he is such like an ordinary, like a beggar, he walks around, right? So how do people even recognize who Shukha Brahman was? How did they identify him? And how did they, bring him to go tell this, right? That is the third question, or third question they're asking. And then the fourth question they're asking is that how did it so happen that, Parikshit met Shukha Brahman? So how, first of all, how did people recognize Shukha Brahman? And how did Parikshit meet this Shukha Brahman, making it possible? How did that encounter happen, right? Because those two didn't know each other before, but somehow they met each other, and somehow it inspired Shukha Brahman to tell Parikshit. So talk us about what was that inspiration, what made Shukha Brahman actually tell all of these things to Parikshit this day. Then the fifth one they talk is all these great rishis, when they go from house to house begging for alms, the time they can stay at a particular house is the time it takes to milk a cow. That is the general reference. So when somebody comes to your door, you go milk the cow, and by the time you milk the cow, the person should have left, right? They cannot stay in a particular house for more than that period, because they cannot be waiting for somebody to come. If people don't give food, that means they have to just go to the next house, right? So Shukha Brahman, who's like that, and who stays even lesser than the time it takes to milk a cow, how is he staying in one place for 7 days, right? Similar to what Narada they asked, right? Why did Narada stay in the same place? So what made Shukha Brahman stay in that place for 7 days to be able to talk through that? Next, they ask about the Charitram of Parikshit. He says, we've heard that Parikshit is a great devotee of Narayana. Tell us about the Charitram. We heard that some Adbhutam, great things happened. So talk about the birth of Parikshit and all the wonderful things that happened to Parikshit. That also they ask. Then they talk about, in the Mahabharata, all these people, Yudhishthira, Kauravas, Pandavas, they fought, they lost their entire clan. All of it they did so that they can get a kingdom. That was the net. They only got a kingdom at the end of it, right? And that kingdom, when Parikshit was born, there was nobody who wanted to take that kingdom. The kingdom was handed over to Parikshit, right? So it was kind of, he was born, and then the kingdom is like, okay, here is the kingdom for you, right? There was no competition for him. Everything was taken care of. So despite having all of this, right? And Parikshit was born with the kingdom in his hand with no opponents. And he also did a great job. He also ruled for a while. Everything was fine. He made a lot of wealth. He was very powerful. He was well respected. Why did he renounce everything? Right? What made him renounce everything and say, I don't want anything? Right? So that was the next question. Why did he renounce everything? And then he said that, then they go on to ask further on Parikshit itself, saying that he is so powerful that everybody will fall at his feet. Why did he decide that I want to give up my life? I don't want anything. Again, continuing with the renunciation, why did he want to just surrender everything and give up his life? Right? That was the next question. And then the last question, a lot of things around Parikshit only. And the last question they asked about Parikshit is, well, see, most of us, we live to do something for ourselves and our family and everybody else. But the great people like Parikshit, they live to do good for others. So they say, when a person like Parikshit, when he decides he doesn't want to do something, it impacts a big community of people. Like, he's a king, so he's doing good things for the entire kingdom. So when Parikshit decides, I don't want to do it, the impact is for the entire kingdom. So he says again, what is somebody like Parikshit? He would have thought about it. If he is renouncing everything, a lot of people are going to get affected. So what made him give up? Because he's not that type of a person, but still he gave up everything, right? So what was the purpose of that? So they come and say, Sudha Puranik, they say, you have all this information. So we really want to put an answer to all these questions, and then definitely talk to us about Bhagavatam also. That's how these are the 7 or 8, 9 questions they actually pose. So Sutta Pauranika first starts with introduction to Vyasa. So now he's going to answer each of these questions. He's going to first talk about Vyasa, then he's going to talk about Shukha Brahman, then he's going to talk about Parikshit. He's going to give all of this history, right? Then Narada, he's going to talk about Narada Charitram is going to come inside that. So anyway, with Vyasa, he says, when the transition between the Treta Yuga and the Dwapara Yuga happened, at that time, Vyasa was born to Parashara and Satyavati. And he was in to Parashara and the womb of Satyavati. So there's the fisherman, right? His father was a fisherman, the clan of, the Vasu, daughter of Vasu, the Satyavati was a fisherman family. So he was born in an island and he was very dark in color. So he was called as Krishna Dvaipayana because he was dark in color, he was born in an island. We'll see how the word Vyasa and all come. So that is how it started. Now, of course, Vyasa then goes on to do a lot of things. So all of those are not covered. So it says later on, at some point, right, in the present years, when Vyasa one day, he kind of did his morning prayers and he was sitting in the banks of Saraswati and then he was concentrating. He was just meditating. When he was meditating, he was able to see into the future. Right now, when we go to a astrologer, the astrologer tells us what is going to happen to us. But when Vyasa is looking, he can look at the entire mankind, right? And he's not bothered about what is going to happen to him. We all go to the astrologer and say, please tell me what's going to happen to me or what's going to happen with our family. But Vyasa is saying, no, I'm looking into the future of the mankind, right? And he began to get concerned about the future of mankind, right? So he's saying, you know what, when I'm looking into the future, as I see this Kalikalam is actually beginning to come, he sees that the duration, the number of faithless people, first of all, start going up and the duration of the people will also start going down, right? And when that starts happening, he says people become very lazy, like we saw earlier, right? So he was becoming very depressed, and he saw that all the things which he has mentioned, all the things which are mentioned in the Vedas are by which people actually get purified. He says that people will stop all of this because one, he says people will not have any interest. That's number one. Two is the lifespan of people start going down, the age of the people start going down, and they will also not have the time, even in that lifespan, they will not have the time to read all of this. So what he did is to simplify, at least let people learn some of the Vedas. What Vyasa does is he takes that one big Veda that is there and he divides it into 4 parts. So Vyasa did not write the Vedas, right? Because Vedas are Shrutis, it is heard. What Vyasa did was he compiled it. He's a splitter or a compiler. So that's why the name Vyasa comes, because Vyasa literally means one who splits, right? So because he split the Vedas, he's called as Veda Vyasa. So if you split something else, you call that particular Vyasa. So Vyasa is just like a title of somebody. Krishna Dvaipayana is his name. And that's how he got the name Veda Vyasa that was there. Now, the 4 divisions of Vedas that he did, he first made the 4 divisions of the Vedas, and this is there in Bhagavatam only. 4 divisions of Vedas he did. Then what he did was, he looked at all the historical events that have actually happened in the past, right? And all the stories that have happened in the past. And all of those have certain messages which are related to the Vedas. So he took all those incidents which have messages which are also there in the Vedas and created a 5th Veda, which is called as the Puranas. So the Puranas are no different from the Vedas. The Puranas are talking about the same message of the Vedas, but talking through actual incidents and stories that have actually happened. So there's not anything different. He says Puranas are like the 5th Vedas, because if you are not able to understand the Vedas, some people are better at understanding stories. So he compiled the Puranas because through the stories, they will still get the core message of the Vedas. So that's what he did. So once he created these 5 divisions of the Vedas itself, then he started assigning individual owners to each of it. So it talks about, I think in 21, it'll talk about, Pailaha. So Paila Rishi became the owner of the Rig Veda. Then Jaimini, this comes in 21, so I'll point at that time. Jaimini became the owner of the Sama Veda. Vaishampayana became the heads of the Yajur Veda. And Angira becomes the head of the Atharvana Veda. So those are the 4 divisions which he created. He assigned each of them a particular ruler or a owner, right? And Suta Pauranika says, my father, Romaharshana, he was then entrusted with all of the Puranas. So all of the Puranas was given to Romaharshana. And say each of you 5 people now have each of these owners, right? And they say now it's your responsibility now to teach these to several people, right? Across the globe, you go start teaching it to your children, to your grandchildren, to your disciples and their disciples. Go around the world and spread it. So each of them was kind of assigned an ownership of all of the Vedas. So then he did all of this stuff. So he did, yeah.
How many Puranas are there?
18 Puranas.
Okay. In Bhagavatam is not a Purana, right?
Bhagavatam is one of the Puranas.
Oh, it is. Okay.
It is one of the Puranas. So that's why Vedavyasa, he gave Romaharshana all the Puranas, but Bhagavatam he did not give to Romaharshana. Bhagavatam was given to Shukabrahma. That's why he was waiting for somebody to give Bhagavatam to, because it's one of the very important, most important Purana. So he wanted somebody who truly would be able to take that, right? Because like we said, it is doesn't mean Romaharshana is bad by any means, right? It is just that it is so spiritual and auspicious that somebody of the nature of Shukabrahma who doesn't want anything has to come and say, I want it. So that is the beauty of it. It's not like somebody says, I absolutely love it, so I want to. It's like, I don't want anything. But you know what? This particular thing, I want it, right? That is the difference, right? So anyway, so that's what Shukra Brahman gets it, but Roma Harshana gets the rest of the Puranas, right? Under that. So once he kind of edited these Vedas so that less intellectual people, he says, right, even for us to learn one portion of Yajur Veda itself will take our lifetime, right? So he says at least for less intellectual people, they can at least learn 1/4 of the Vedas. So that's why the 4 Vedas were compiled. Now, of course, the Vedas, it's said that ordinary people cannot just directly jump into learning Vedas. He says you have to be purified first to be able to even start learning the Vedas. So that is the rule that was there. No longer now, anybody can just jump in and learn Vedas, but originally it was like you have to be purified, right? And you should be an expert, and then you should, because it was originally even Brahma had to be taught by the Lord, right? So it is not something that anybody can take up. So he says subject matter has to be understood by people and everything. So however, as all these yugas in Satya Yuga, everybody was on the level of goodness. As these things started coming, people started becoming more corrupt. Then he saw the problem with it is the people who are women, because women did not learn Vedas at that time, they were busy with other things. The laborer class, the Shudra class who's there, who don't get to learn it. Then the friends of Brahmins, because Brahmins learn it, so the friends of Brahmins don't restrict. So there's all this section of people who did not have access to the Vedas. So he says, what do I do for them? Right? So that's why he compiled Mahabharata, because he says Mahabharata is nothing but talking about the essence of the Vedas, but in a format that anybody and everybody can read. And within Mahabharata, he put Bhagavad Gita, which of course Krishna only said, but Vyasa compiled it, right? He put Bhagavad Gita right in the middle of Mahabharata, because that is also like a Veda. It is directly coming from the Lord's mouth. It's no different, but anybody and everybody can say that. There's no restriction as to who can say Bhagavad Gita or who cannot say Bhagavad Gita. So he compiled all of this, right? So we'll stop at this point, because then now that's where then we'll talk about what the dilemma he has, right? Okay, so that's it, Sabita and Gopiji right here. Okay, so fourth, the Chaturtyodhyayah, Vyaso Vacha iti Bruvanam Samstuya, comma, Muninam Dirga Satrinam, Briddha Kulapatis Sutam, comma, Bah Vricha. So the next word, if you're having Sanskrit, that word will look a little complicated, but it's Bah Vrichaha. And then you put the ish to join. So Bah Vrichash Shaunako Bravit. Vyasohu Vacha iti Bruvanam Samstuya Muninam Dirga Satrinam Briddha Kulapatis Sutam Bah Vrichash Shaunako Bravit.
व्यासोवाच इति ब्रुवाणं संस्तूय मुनीनां दीर्घसत्रिणां वृद्धः कुलपतिः सूतं बह्वृचः शौनको ब्रवीत् व्यासोवाच इति ब्रुवाणं संस्तूय मुनीनां दीर्घसत्रिणां वृद्धः कुलपतिः सूतं बह्वृचः शौनको ब्रवीत्
व्यासोवाच इति ब्रुवाणं संस्तूय मुनीनां दीर्घसत्रिणां वृद्धः कुलपतिः सूतं बह्वृचः शौनको ब्रवीत्.
Gopiji, the second line first, Briddha, double dha there.
Okay, वृद्धः. Okay, sure. व्यासोवाच इति ब्रुवाणां संस्तूय मुनीनां दीर्घसत्रिणां वृद्धः कुलपतिः सूतं बह्वृचः शौनको ब्रवीत्.
Shaunaka Uvacha, Suta Mahabhaga, comma, Vada no Vadatam Vara, Katham Bhagavatim Punyam, comma, Yadaha Bhagavan Chukaha. Shaunaka Uvacha, Suta Mahabhaga, वदनो वदतां पर कथां भागवतीं पुण्यां यदाह भगवान् शुकः
शौनक उवाच सूत सूत महाभाग वदनो वदतां वर कथां भागवतीं पुण्यां यदाह भगवान् शुकः शौनक उवाच सूत सूत महाभाग वदनो वदतां वर कथां भागवतीं पुण्यां यदाह भगवान् शुकः
शौनक उवाच सूत सूत महाभाग वदनो वदतां वर कथां भागवतीं पुण्यां यदाह भगवान् शुकः शौनक उवाच सूत सूत महाभाग वदनो वदतां वर कथां भागवतीं पुण्यां यदाह भगवान् शुकः
कस्मिन् युगे प्रवृत्तेयम् इत्यण्डते स्तौम स्थाने वा केन हेतुना कुतः संचोदितः कृष्णः कृतवान् संहितां मुनिः कस्मिन् युगे प्रवृत्तेयं स्थाने वा केन हेतुना कुतः संचोदितः कृष्णः कृतवान् संहितां मुनिः
कस्मिन् युगे प्रवृत्तेयं स्थाने वा केन हेतुना कुतः सञ्चोदितः कृष्णः कृतवान् संहितां मुनिः कस्मिन् युगे प्रवृत्तेयं स्थाने वा केन हेतुना कुतः सञ्चोदितः कृष्णः कृतवान् संहितां मुनिः
कस्मिन् युगे प्रवृत्तेयं स्थाने वा केन हेतुना कुतः संचोदितः कृष्णः कृतवान् संहितां मुनिः कस्मिन् युगे प्रवृत्तेयं स्थाने वा केन हेतुना कुतः संचोदितः कृष्णः कृतवान् संहितां मुनिः
So here the Krishna is referring to is Krishna Dvaipayana, is referring to Vyasa here. तस्य पुत्रो महायोगी समदृङ् निर्विकल्पकः एकान्तमति रुन्निद्रो डबल न रुन्निद्रो गूढो मूढ इवेयते तस्य पुत्रो महायोगी समदृङ् निर्विकल्पकः एकान्तमतिरुन्निद्रो गूढो मूढ इवेयते
तस्य पुत्रो महायोगी समदृन् निर्विकल्पकः एकान्तमतिरुन्निद्रो गूढो मूढः इवेयते तस्य पुत्रो महायोगी समदृन् निर्विकल्पकः एकान्तमतिरुन्निद्रो गूढो मूढ इवेयते
तस्य पुत्रो महायोगी समदृङ्निर्विकल्पकः एकान्तमतिरिन्निद्रो गूढो मूढ इवेयते तस्य पुत्रो महायोगी समदृङ्निर्विकल्पकः एकान्तमतुरिन्निद्रो गूढो मूढ इवेयते
Gopiji, second line mati runnidro, okay, ekantamati.
एकान्तमतुरिन्निद्रो
No, mati runnidro.
ओके एकान्तमथिरिन्निद्रो गूढो मूढ इवेयते
दृष्ट्वानुयान्तं ऋषिम् आत्मजम् apyanagnam. You can break it into four parts there. Drishtvanuyantam rishim atmajam apyanagnam, devyo kriya paridhadur na sutasya chitram tadvikshya pritchati munau jagatustavasti, stri pumbidha natu sutasya vivikta drishtehe.
Rajesh, your small favor. Can you
Hmm.
repeat the first line one more time, if
Yeah.
you don't mind?
Yeah. I'm just breaking it in case you want to break and read, right? If you want to read continuous, you can do that also.
Yeah, and breaking the first கொஞ்சம் fast
Yeah,
போன
yeah.
மாதிரி இருந்தது எனக்கு
Yeah,
நான்.
sure. Drishtvanuyantam rishim atmajam apyanagnam. Okay, four parts. दृष्ट्वानुयान्तं ऋषिमात्मजमप्यनग्नं देव्यो ह्रिया परिदधुर्न सुतस्य चित्रं तद्वीक्ष्य पृच्छति मुनौ जगदुस्तवास्ति स्त्रीपुंभिदा न तु सुतस्य विविक्तदृष्टेः
दृष्ट्वानुयान्तं ऋषिमात्मजमप्यनग्रं देव्यो ह्रिया परिदधुर्न सुतस्य चित्रं तद्वीक्ष्य पृच्छति मुनौ जगतुस्तवास्ति स्त्रीपुंभिदा न तु सुतस्य विविक्तदृष्टेः दृष्ट्वानु आत्म ऋषि
sorry, I lost the nadu. Repeat
दृष्ट्वानु
दृष्ट्वानुयान्तं
यान्तम् ओके दृष्ट्वानुयान्तं ऋषिमात्मजमप्यनग्रं देव्यो ह्रिया परिदधुर्न सुतस्य चित्रं तद्वीक्ष्य पृच्छति मुनौ जगदुस्तवास्ति स्त्रीपुंभिदा न तु सुतस्य विविक्तदृष्टेः
Abhita on the first line la apyanagnam na sound.
ओके दृष्ट्वानुयान्तं ऋषिमात्मजमप्यनग्नं
Yeah.
देव्यो ह्रिया परिदधुर्न सुतस्य चित्रं तद्वीक्ष्य पृच्छति मुनौ जगदुस्तवास्ति स्त्रीपुंभिदा न तु सुतस्य विविक्तदृष्टेः
दृष्टानुयान्तं ऋषिम् आत्मजम् अप्यनग्नं देव्यो ह्रिया परिदधूर्न सुतस्य चित्रं तद्वीक्ष्य पृच्छति मुनौ जगदुस्तवास्ति स्त्रीपुंभिदा न तु सुतस्य विविक्तदृष्टेः दृष्टानुयान्तं ऋषिम् आत्मजमप्यनग्नं देव्यो ह्रिया परिदधूर्न सुतस्य चित्रं तद्वीक्ष्य पृच्छति मुनौ जगदुस्तवास्ति स्त्रीपुंभिदा न तु सुतस्य विविक्तदृष्टेः
कथमालक्षितः पौरैः कौमा सम्प्राप्तः कुरुजाङ्गलान् उन्मत्त मूक jadavat. So the dvi that you see there, we'll just break it if you're since we're putting a comma there. Jadavat, comma. Next word starts with a vicharan. B. Vicharan gaja sahvaye. Kathamalakshitah pauraihi sampraptah gurujangalan unmatta mooka jadavat vicharan gaja sahvaye.
कथमालक्षितः पौरैः सम्प्राप्त गुरुजाङ्गलान् उन्मत्त मूकज
जडवत्
उन्मत्त मूकजडवत् विचेरन् गज सांह्वये
विचरन् विचरन् गज साह्वये.
ओके उन्मत्त मूकज जडवत् विचरन् गज साह्वये कथमालक्षितः पौरैः सम्प्राप्तः कुरुजाङ्गलान् उन्मत्त मूक जडवत् विचरन् गज साह्वये
कथमालक्षितः पौरैः सम्प्राप्तः कुरुजाङ्गलान् उन्मत्तमूकजडवद विचरन् गजः साह्वये कथमालक्षितः पौरैः सम्प्राप्तः कुरुजाङ्गलान् उन्मत्तमूकजडदैः जडवद vicharan gaja sahwaye.
That first word, katam a lakshita, I think you're saying lakshita or something different there. Katama lakshita.
Kathama lakshita paurehi.
Yeah. Katam va pandaveyasya, comma, rajarsher munina saha, samvadas sama bhutata, comma, यत्रैषा सात्वती श्रुतिः कथं वा पाण्डवे यस्य राजर्षेर्मुनिना सह संवादः समभूत्तात यत्रैषा सात्वती श्रुतिः
कथं वा पाण्डवेयस्य राजर्षेर्मुनिना सह संवादः समभूतात् यत्रैषा सात्वती श्रुतिः कथं वा पाण्डवेयस्य राजर्षेर्मुनिना सह संवादः समभूतात् यत्रैषा सात्वती श्रुतिः.
the second line samabhutat it no it
Okay.
ta okay
संवादः समभूतात् यत्रैषा सात्वती श्रुतिः.
कथं वा पाण्डवेयस्य राजर्षेर्मुनिना सह संवादः समभूतात यत्रैषा सात्वती श्रुतिः कथं वा पाण्डवेयस्य राजर्षेर्मुनिना सह संवादः समभूतात यत्रैषा सात्वती श्रुतिः
स गो दोहन मात्रं हि कमा गृहेषु गृहमेधिनाम् अवेक्षते महाभागः that is there you can remove put a visarga comma महाभागः तीर्थी कुर्वंस् तदाश्रमम् सगोदोहनमात्रं हि गृहेषु गृहमेधिनाम् अवेक्षते महाभागः तीर्थी कुर्वंस्तदाश्रमम्
सगोदोहनमात्रं हि गृहेषु गृहमेधिनाम् अवेक्षते महाभागः तीर्थीकुर्वंस्तदाश्रमम्. सगोदोहनमात्रं हि गृहेषु गृहमेधिनाम् अवेक्षते महाभागः तीर्थीकुर्वंस्तदाश्रमम्.
सगोदोहनमात्रं हि गृहेषु गृहमेधिनाम् आवेक्षते महाभागः तीर्थीकुर्वंस्तदाश्रमम्.
Gopiji, second line, first word, avekshate.
अवेक्षते सगोदोहनमात्रं हि गृहेषु गृहमेधिनाम् अवेक्षते महाभागः तीर्थीकुर्वंस्तदाश्रमम्.
अभिमन्यु सुतं सूत कमा प्राहुर भागवतोत्तमं तस्य जन्म महाश्चर्यं कमा कर्माणि च गृणीहि नः. अभिमन्यु सुतं सूत प्राहुर भागवतोत्तमं तस्य जन्म महाश्चर्यं कर्माणि च गृणीहि नः.
अभिमन्युसुतं सूत प्राहुर्भागवतोत्तमं तस्य जन्म महाश्चर्यं कर्माणि च गृणीहि नः.
गृणीहि नः.
गृणीहि नः. अभिमन्युसुतं सूत प्राहुर्भागवतोत्तमं तस्य जन्म महाश्चर्यं कर्माणि च गृणीहि नः.
अभिमन्युसुतं सूत प्राहुर्भागवतोत्तमं तस्य जन्म महाश्चर्यं कर्माणि च गृणीहि नः. अभिमन्युसुतं सूत प्राहुर्भागवतोत्तमं तस्य जन्म महाश्चर्यं कर्माणि च गृणीहि नः.
स सम्राट् कस्य वा हेतोः कमा पाण्डूनां मानवर्धनः प्रायोपविष्टो गंगायां. So the ma that is there, break it, im comma gangayam anadhrityadhirat, you cannot break it, so it's one word, anadhrityadhirat shriyam. स सम्राट् कस्य वा हेतोः पाण्डूनां मानवर्धनः प्रायोपविष्टो गङ्गायाम् अनाधृत्याधिराट् श्रियम्.
स सम्राट् कस्य वा हेतोः पाण्डूनां मानवर्धनः प्रायोपविष्टो गङ्गायाम् अनादृत्याधिराट् श्रियम् स सम्राट् कस्य वा हेतोः पाण्डूनां मानवर्धनः प्रायोपविष्टो गङ्गायाम् अनादृत्याधिराट् श्रियम्
स सम्राट् कस्य वा हेतोः पाण्डूनां मानवर्धनः प्रायोपविष्टो गङ्गायाम् अनाधृत्याद्धिराट् श्रियम् स सम्राट् कस्य वा हेतोः पाण्डूनां मानवर्धनः प्रायोपविष्टो गङ्गायाम् अनादृत्याधिराट् श्रियम्
नमन्ति यत्पाद निकेतम् आत्मनः शिवाय हानीय धनानि शत्रवः कथं स वीरः श्रियम् अंग दुस्त्यजाम, comma. Next word, you can't break the first part of it, so you have to say it together. Yuvaishatot srashtum aho sahasubihi. Can't quite break it because yuvaishata utsrashtu, so you can't break that. नमन्ति यत्पादनिकेतमात्मनः शिवाय हानीय धनानि शत्रवः कथं स वीरः श्रियम् अङ्गदुस्त्यजाम् युवैषतोत्स्रष्टुम् अहो सहासुभिः. Break at that mark.
नमन्ति यत्पादनिकेतमात्मनः शिवाय हानीय धनानि शत्रवः कथं स वीरश्रियमङ्ग दुस्त्यजाम् युवैषतोस्त्रष्टु अहो सहासुभिः. नमन्ति यत्पादनिकेतमात्मनः शिवाय हानीय धनानि शत्रवः कथं स वीरश्रियमङ्गदुस्त्यजाम् युवैषतोत्स्रष्टु अहो सहासुभिः.
नमन्ति यत्पादनिकेतमात्मनः शिवाय हानीय धनानि शत्रवः कथं स वीरः श्रियमङ्गदुस्त्यजाम् युवेशतोषष्टुमहो सहासुभिः. नमन्ति यत्पादनिकेतमात्मनः शिवाय हानीय धनानि शत्रवः कथं स वीरः श्रियमङ्गदुस्त्यजाम् युवेशतोषष्टुमहो सहासुभिः.
शिवाय लोकस्य भवाय भूतये, य उत्तम श्लोक परायणा जनाः जीवन्ति नात्मार्थमसौ पराश्रयम्, मुमोच निर्विद्य कुतः कलेवरम्. शिवाय लोकस्य भवाय भूतये य उत्तम श्लोक परायणा जनाः जीवन्ति नात्मार्थमसौ पराश्रयम् मुमोच निर्विद्य कुतः कलेवरम्.
शिवाय लोकस्य भवाय भूतये स य उत्तमश्लोकपरायणा जनाः जीवन्ति नात्मार्थमसौ पराश्रयम् मुमोच निर्विद्य कुतः कलेवरम्. शिवाय लोकस्य भवाय भूतये य उत्तमश्लोकपरायणा जनाः जीवन्ति नात्मार्थमसौ पराश्रयम् मुमोच निर्विद्य कुतः कलेवरम्.
शिवाय लोकस्य भवाय भूतये य उत्तमश्लोकपरायणा जनाः जीवन्ति नात्मार्थमसौ पराश्रयम् मुमोच निर्विद्य कुतः कलेवरम्. शिवाय लोकस्य भवाय भूतये य उत्तमश्लोकपरायणा जनाः जीवन्ति नात्मार्थमसौ पराश्रयम् मुमोच निर्विद्य कुतः कलेवरम्.
तत्सर्वं न समाचक्ष्व, पृष्टो यदिह किंचन manye tvam vishaye vacham, snatam anyatra chandasat. Tatsarvam na samachakshva prishto yadiha kinchana manye tvam vishaye vacham snatam anyatra chandasat.
तत्सर्वं न समाचक्ष्व पृष्टो यदिह किञ्चन मन्ये त्वां विषये वाचां स्नातमन्यत्र छान्दसात् तत्सर्वं न समाचक्ष्व पृष्टो यदिह किञ्चन मन्ये त्वां विषये वाचां स्नातमन्यत्र छान्दसात्
तत्सर्वं न समाचक्ष्व पृष्ठो यदिह किंचन मन्ये त्वां विषये वाचां स्नातमन्यत्र छान्दसात् तत्सर्वं न समाचक्ष्व पृष्ठो यदिह किंचन मन्ये त्वां विषये वाचां स्नातमन्यत्र छान्दसात्
Sutau vacha dvapare samanuprapte, tritiye yugaparyaye jatah parasharad yogi, if you want to break it, parasharad yogi, vasavyam kalaya harehe. So next maybe 3 stanzas, Sabita Gupaji, just one time. So by 3 we'll finish up to this point. Suta uvacha dvapare samanuprapte tritiye yugaparyaye jatah parasharad yogi vasavyam kalaya harehe.
सूत उवाच द्वापरे समनुप्राप्ते तृतीये युगपर्यये जातः पराशराद्योगी वासव्यां कलया हरेः
सूत उवाच द्वापरे समनुप्राप्ते तृतीये युगपर्यये जातः पराशरद्योगी वासव्यां कलया हरेः
Sa kadachit saraswatyaha. So because you're passing there, you put the visarga. If you're not passing and you're saying it continuously, there's no visarga there, okay? But because you're going to put a comma, so saraswatyaha, comma, upasprishya jalam shuchi, vivikta desha asinaha. Same thing. Visarga, you add it there, put a comma. Udite ravimandale. Sakadhachit saraswatyaha upasprishya jalam shuchi vivikta desha asinaha udite ravimandale.
शुचिः लियाङ्ग विसर्गम इरुक्के
இல்லையே அங்க. It's not there.
I have a விசர்க்கம்
Okay.
there.
எனக்கு கூட இருக்கு
I have it
ராஜேஷ்.
too.
Let me check the other book also, one sec. Okay, I mean, we can be consistent and not, we'll follow this book, so you can make a circle and keep that. Sometimes it might be there in other books. So
Okay. स कदाचित् सरस्वत्याः उपस्पृश्य जलं शुचि विविक्तदेश आसीनः उदिते रविमण्डले
स कदाचित् सरस्वत्याः उपस्पृश्य जलं शुचि विविक्तदेश आसीनः उदिते रविमण्डले
paravaragnyas sa rishihi, kalena vyakta ramhasa yuga dharma vyatikaram, praptam bhuvi yuge yuge. Paravaragnyas sa rishihi kalena vyakta ramhasa yuga dharma vyatikaram praptam bhuvi yuge yuge.
Rajeshi, is it paravara or paravara?
Paravaragnyas.
Okay, no, right?
No other. Paravaragnyas. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
परावरज्ञः स ऋषिः कालेन नाव्यक्तरंहसा पुरा धर्मव्यतिकरं प्राप्तं भुवि युगे युगे.
Sorry, the second line, Savita, yuga dharma.
Okay. परावरज्ञः स ऋषिः कालेन नाव्यक्तरंहसा युगधर्मव्यतिकरं प्राप्तं भुवि युगे युगे.
परावरज्ञसृषिः कालेन व्यक्तरं हसा युगधर्मव्यतिकरं प्राप्तं भुवि युगे युगे.
So we just switch now. Sindhuji, you can be student. Priya Arun, you can be student. Bhautikhanam cha bhavanam, comma, Shakti hrasam cha tatkritam, Ashrad dhadanan. So this word, if you want to break it, it's two das coming there. Okay, so Ashrad dhadanan nihi is there. You have to put a is to join it. So Ashrad dhadanan nis satwan. Okay, little bit of a tongue twister there, and then comma after satwan. Durmedhan hrasitayushaha.
ராஜேஷ், ஒரு குவிக் கொஸ்டின். நிஹிஸ் சத்வான்னு சொல்லக்கூடாதா? இதே மாதிரிதான் அந்த தேர்ட்லயும் வந்தது. நிஹிஸ்ன்னு சொன்னேன்.
Because that was ksha was coming later, right?
ஓகே,
Whenever-
ஷா
whenever-
வந்தா you have to say.
You have to say the visarga. Ama. So when the sha is coming, you can put is and join it.
Okay.
Okay. Good catch though, but Bhautikānām ca bhāvānām shakti hrāsam ca tatkritam ashraddhadhanām nissattvān durmedhan hrasitayushah.
Rajesh, that second line, first word, Asraddha Dhanan or Dhanan? My book has Dhanan.
Ashraddhanan dhan ashraddhadhan.
Okay, my book has Dha.
Yeah,
I have Ashraddha Dhanam, right?
ashraddhadhanan
Yeah.
nissattvān.
Bhaudiganam jabhavanam shakti khasam jatatkridam asraddadanan nissatvan durmedhan hasidayushaha. Hasidayushaha, 2 times, right?
Yeah, 2 times. Yeah.
Bhaudiganam jabhavanam shakti khasam jatatkridam asraddadanan nissatvan durmedhan hasidayushaha.
भौतिकानां च भावानां शक्तिह्रासं च तत्कृतम् अश्रद्धदानान् निस्सत्त्वान् दुर्मेधान् ह्रसिदायुषः भौतिकानां च भावानां शक्तिह्रासं च तत्कृतम् अश्रद्धदानान् निस्सत्त्वान् दुर्मेधान् ह्रसिदायुषः
Durbhagamscha janan vikshya, comma, munir divyena chakshusha sarva varnashramanam yat. So you have a double the coming there. So we'll put a comma. So varnashramanam yat, comma, dadyau hitamamogha drik. Durbhagamscha janan vikshya munir divyena chakshusha sarva varnashramanam yat dadyau hitamamogha drik.
Durbhagamscha janan vichya munir divyena chakshusha sarva varnasramanam yad dadyo hidamamokhatrik. Durbhagamscha janan vichya munir divyena chakshusha sarva varnasramanam yad dadyo hidamamokhatrik.
दुर्भगांश्च जनान् वीक्ष्य मुनिर्दिव्येन चक्षुषा सर्ववर्णाश्रमाणां यत् दध्यौ हितममोघदृक् दुर्भगांश्च जनान् वीक्ष्य मुनिर्दिव्येन चक्षुषा सर्ववर्णाश्रमाणां यत् दध्यौ हितममोघदृक्
Chaturhotram karma shuddham, comma, prajanam vikshya vaidikam vyadadhat yajna santatye, comma, vedamekam chaturvidam. Chaturhotram karma shuddham prajanam vikshya vaidikam vyadadat yajna santatye vedamekam chaturvidam.
Chadurhotram karma shuddham prajanam vikshya vaidigam vyadadhat yajna sandatyai vedamegam chaturvidam. Chadurhotram karma shuddham prajanam vikshya vaidigam vyadadhat yajna sandatyai vedamegam chaturvidam.
चातुर्होत्रं कर्म शुद्धं प्रजानां वीक्ष्य वैदिकं व्यदधाद्यज्ञसन्दत्यै वेदमेकं चतुर्विधं चातुर्होत्रं कर्म शुद्धं प्रजानां वीक्ष्य वैदिकं व्यदधाद्यज्ञसन्तत्यै वेदमेकं चतुर्विधम्.
Rig, Yajus, Samatharvakyaha, Sama Atharvakyaha, but you kind of say it together. So Samatharvakyaha, put a visarga there, since you're putting a comma. Vedash Chatvara Uddhritaha, Itihasa Puranam cha, comma, Panchamo Veda Uchyate. So that's the fifth Vedas, like we said. ऋग्यजुस्सामाथर्वाक्याः वेदाश्चत्वार उद्धृताः इतिहासपुराणां च पञ्चमो वेद उच्यते.
पुराणं च वा पुराणं च?
पुराणं च.
ऋग्यजुस्सामाधर्वाख्याः वेदाश्चत्वार उद्धृताः इतिहासपुराणं च पञ्चमो वेद उच्यते. ऋग्यजुस्सामाधर्वाख्याः वेदाश्चत्वार उद्धृताः इतिहासपुराणं च पञ्चमो वेद उच्यते.
ऋग्यजुस्सामधर्वाक्याः वेदाश्चत्वार उद्धृताः इतिहासपुराणं च पञ्चमो वेद उच्यते.
Beyond the first line, ऋग्यजुस्सामाथर्वाक्याः, like it will go is one flow.
ऋग्यजुस्सामाथर्वाक्याः वेदाश्चत्वार उद्धृताः इतिहासपुराणं च पञ्चमो वेद उच्यते.
So the next word, Tatra Rigvedadhara. That's the easier way of saying it. In Sanskrit, if you look at it, the ir is coming on top of ve and everything. It's a little confusing. I don't know how it's in other language, but it's Tatra Rigvedadhara Pailaha, comma, Samago Jaimini Kavihi, Vaishampayana Evaiko, comma, Nishnato Yajushamuta. This is very telling who is getting the three Vedas. तत्र ऋग्वेदधरः पैलः सामगो जैमिनिः कविः वैशम्पायन एवैको निष्णातो यजुषामुत.
तत्र ऋग्वेदधरः पैलः सामगो जैमिनिः कविः वैशम्पायन एवैको निष्णातो यजुषामुदा. तत्र ऋग्वेदधरः पैलः सामगो जैमिनिः कविः वैशम्पायन एवैको निष्णातो यजुषामुदा.
तत्र ऋग्वेदधरः पैलः सामगो जैमिनिः कविः वैशम्पायन एवैको निष्णातो यजुषामुद. तत्र ऋग्वेदधरः पैलः सामगो जैमिनिः कविः वैशम्पायन एवैको निष्णातो यजुषामुत.
अथर्वाङ्गिरसाम् आसीत्. अथर्वाङ्गिरसाम् आसीत्, कॉमा, सुमन्तुर् दारुणो मुनिः इतिहास पुराणानां, कॉमा, पिता मे रोमहर्षणः. अथर्वाङ्गिरसामासीत् सुमन्तुर्दारुणो मुनिः इतिहास पुराणानां पिता मे रोमहर्षणः.
अथर्वाङ्गिरसामासीत् सुमन्तुर्दारुणो मुनिः इतिहासपुराणानां पिता मे रोमहर्षणः. अथर्वाङ्गिरसमासीत् सुमन्तुर्दारुणो मुनिः इतिहासपुराणानां पिता मे रोमहर्षणः.
Induji, that अथर्वाङ्गिरसाम्.
Okay. अथर्वाङ्गिरसामासीत् सुमन्तुर्दारुणो मुनिः.
अथर्वाङ्गिरसामासीत् सुमन्तुर्दारुणो मुनिः इतिहासपुराणानां पिता मे रोमहर्षणः. अथर्वाङ्गिरसामासीत् सुमन्तुर्दारुणो मुनिः इतिहासपुराणानां पितामेरो महर्षणः
त एत ऋषयो वेदं स्वं स्वं व्यस्यन् न nekada. So that one is vyasyan na nekada. So next one, little bit, lot of ish sound is going to come there. Shishyaif prashishyais tach shishyaihi. Okay, so after that shishya you put a visarga and a comma. So shishyaif prashishyais tach shishyaihi, comma. Next on top of the vedaste, that ir that is there, that will go away. Vedaste shakino bhavan. तहेत ऋषयो वेदं स्वं स्वं व्यस्यन्ननेकधा शिष्यैः प्रशिष्यैस्तच्छिष्यैः वेदास्ते शाकिनो भवन्.
तयेद ऋषयो वेदं स्वं स्वं व्यसन्ननेकदा शिष्यैः प्रशिष्यैस्तच्छिष्यैः वेदास्ते शागिनो भवन् तयेद ऋषयो वेदं स्वं स्वं व्यसन्ननेकदा शिष्यैः प्रशिष्यैस्तच्छिष्यैः वेदास्ते शागिनो भवन्
तयेत ऋषयो वेदं स्वं स्वं व्यस्यन्ननेकधा शिष्यै प्रशिष्यैस्तच्छिष्यैः वेदास्ते शाकिनो भवन् तयेत ऋषयो वेदं स्वं स्वं व्यस्यन्ननेकधा शिष्यै प्रशिष्यैस्तच्छिष्यैः वेदास्ते शाकिनो भवन्.
So here shishyai is shishyas, which are disciples. Prashishyai means the disciples or the disciples. Tashishyaihi is the disciples of the disciples of the disciples. So kind of it's just telling that that's how it's spreading, right? That's how they're spreading it to everybody. Ta eva veda dhurmedhaihi, put a visarga comma. Next line on top of the dha, there is a ir that will go away. Dharyante purushair yatha evam chakara bhagavan, comma, vyasah kripana vatsalah. Ta eva veda durmedhaihi धार्यन्ते पुरुषैर्यथा एवं चकार भगवान् व्यासः कृपणवत्सलः.
तयेव वेदा दुर्मेधैः ध्यार्यन्ते पुरुषैर्यथा एवं जगार भगवान् व्यासकृपणवत्सलः तयेव वेदा दुर्मेधैः धार्यन्ते पुरुषैर्यथा एवं जगार भगवान् व्यासकृपणवत्सलः
एव वेदा धुर्मेदैः धार्यन्ते पुरुषैर्यथा एवं चकार भगवान् व्यासः कृपणवत्सलः त एव वेदा धुर्मेदैः धार्यन्ते पुरुषैर्यथा एवं चकार भगवान् व्यासः कृपणवत्सलः.
स्त्री शूद्र द्विज बंधूनां कॉमा त्रयी न श्रुति गोचरा कर्म श्रेयसी मूढ़ानां कॉमा श्रेय एवं भवेदिह इति भारतमाख्यानं कॉमा कृपया मुनिना कृतम्. स्त्री शूद्र द्विज बंधूनां त्रयी न श्रुति गोचरा कर्म श्रेयसी मूढ़ानां श्रेय एवं भवेदिह इति भारतमाख्यानं कृपया मुनिना कृतम्.
स्त्रीशूद्रद्विजबन्धूनां त्रयी न श्रुतिगोचरा कर्म श्रेयसि मूढानां श्रेय एवं भवेदिह इति भारतमाख्यानं कृपया मुनिना कृतम्. स्त्रीशूद्रद्विजबन्धूनां त्रयी न श्रुतिगोचरा कर्म श्रेयसि मूढानां श्रेय एवं भवेदिह इति भारतमाख्यानं कृपया मुनिना कृतम्.
स्त्रीशूद्र द्विजबन्धूनां त्रयी न श्रुतिगोचरा कर्म श्रेयसि मूढानां श्रेय एवं भवेतिह इति भारतमाख्यानं कृपया मुनिना कृतम्. स्त्रीशूद्र द्विज श्रीशूद्र
Dvija.
द्विजबन्धूनां त्रयीन श्रुतिगोचरा कर्म श्रेयसि मूढानां श्रेय एवं भवेतिह इति भारतमाख्यानं कृपया मुनिना कृतम्.
ராஜேஷ் ஒரே ஒரு டவுட். அந்த
Ah.
3வது லைன் வந்து முடியிற மாதிரி சொல்லணுமா இல்ல ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ற மாதிரி சொல்லணுமா?
அது
3
வந்து it's a little அது வந்து it depends like it's not there's no exact site. So நான் வந்து எப்படி சொல்வேன்னா அது வந்து कर्म श्रेयसि मूढानां श्रेय एवं भवेदिह इति भारतमाख्यानं कृपया मुनिना कृतं.
Okay.
It was not a perfect way, but ideally you say it like the second line because then the next one starts like the first line, right? So
Right.
ideally you say it like the second line. Okay, that's easier.
Okay, thank you.
एवं प्रवृत्तस्य सदा भूतानां श्रेयसि द्विजाः सर्वात्मकेनापि यदा नातुष्यद् हृदयं ततः, because it will show up as dhr, but that's because of hridayam when it becomes combined with the da. So natushyad hridayam tatah. एवं प्रवृत्तस्य सदा भूतानां श्रेयसे द्विजाः सर्वात्मकेनापि यदा नातुष्यद् हृदयं ततः.
एवं प्रवृत्तस्य सदा भूतानां श्रेयसि द्विजाः सर्वात्मकेनापि यदा नादुष्यद्धृदयं ततः एवं प्रवृत्तस्य सदा भूतानां श्रेयसि द्विजाः सर्वात्मकेनापि यदा नादुष्यद्धृदयं ततः
एवं प्रवृत्तस्य सदा भूतानां श्रेयसि द्विजाः सर्वात्मकेनापि यदा नातुष्यद्धृतयं ततः एवं प्रवृत्तस्य सदा भूतानां श्रेयसि द्विजाः सर्वात्मकेनापि यदा नातुष्यद्धृतयं ततः
नाति प्रसीदद् हृदयः, same thing हृदयः but becomes हृदयः, comma सरस्वत्यास्तटे शुचौ वितर्कयन् विविक्तस्त, comma इदं प्रोवाच धर्मवित्. नातिप्रसीदद्धृदयः सरस्वत्यास्तटे शुचौ वितर्कयन् विविक्तस्त इदं प्रोवाच धर्मवित्.
எங்கள்ல சோவாச்சன்னு இருக்கு.
Oh, change it to provacha.
ப்ரோவாச்.
Provacha.
Thank you.
नादिप्रसीदद्धृदयः सरस्वत्यास्तडेषुजौ विदर्कयन् विविक्तस्त इदं प्रोवाच धर्मविद. नादिप्रसीदद्धृदयः सरस्वत्यास्तडेषुजौ विदर्कयन् विविक्तस्त इदं प्रोवाच धर्मविद.
नादिप्रसीदद्धृतयः सरस्वत्यास्तटेषुषौ विदर्कयन् विविक्तस्त इदं प्रोवाच धर्मवित्. नादिप्रसीदद्धृतयः सरस्वत्यास्तटेषुषौ विदर्कयन् विविक्तस्त इदं प्रोवाच धर्मवित्.
धृतव्रतेन हि मया, छन्दांसि गुरवोऽग्नयः, गुरव अग्नयः गुरवोऽग्नयः मानिता निर्व्यलीकेन, गृहीतं चानुशासनम्. धृतव्रतेन हि मया छन्दांसि गुरवोऽग्नयः मानिता निर्व्यलीकेन गृहीतं चानुशासनम्.
धृतव्रतेन हि मया छन्दांसि गुरवोऽग्नयः मानिता निर्व्यलीकेन गृहीतं चानुशासनम्. धृतव्रतेन हि मया छन्दांसि गुरवोऽग्नयः मानिता निर्व्यलीकेन गृहीतं चानुशासनम्.
धृतव्रतेन हि मया छन्दांसि गुरवोऽग्नयः मानिता निर्व्यलीकेन गृहीतं चानुशासनम्. धृतव्रतेन हि मया छन्दांसि गुरवोऽग्नयः मानिता निर्व्यलीकेन गृहीतं चानुशासनम्.
भारत व्यपदेशेन, ह्याम्नायार्थश्च, so ह्या sound, ह्याम्नायार्थश्च दर्शितः दृश्यते यत्र धर्मादि, स्त्री शूद्रात् ibhirapyuta. If you want to break it, shudrat ibhirapyuta. You just say one time because I want to allocate a few minutes to complete some meaning as well. भारतव्यपदेशेन ह्याम्नायार्थश्च दर्शितः दृश्यते यत्र धर्मादि स्त्रीशूद्रादिभिरप्युत.
भारतव्यपदेशेन ह्याम्नायार्थश्च दर्शितः दृश्यते यत्र धर्मादि स्त्रीशूद्रादिभिरप्युत.
भारतव्यपदेशेन ह्याम्नायार्थश्च दर्शितः दृश्यते यत्र धर्मादि स्त्रीशूद्रादिभिरभ्युतः
Ibirapyuta, no visarganga.
विरभ्युत.
Yeah. तथापि बत मे दैह्यो, ह्यात्मा चैवात्मना विभुः असंपन्न इवा भाति, ब्रह्म वर्चस्य सत्तमः. तथापि बत मे दैह्यो ह्यात्मा चैवात्मना विभुः असंपन्न इवा भाति ब्रह्म वर्चस्य सत्तमः.
Rajesh ji, the first letter, is it A or Ta?
Ta, tathapi.
My book has A. So the first Ta, right?
First ta, then second ta after that.
Okay. Tada bibbada me daihyo hyatma jaivatmana vibhuhu asambanna iva bhadi brahma varchasya sattamaha.
तथा विपदमे दैह्यो दन
Yeah, daihyo.
दैह्यो ह्यात्मा चैवात्मना विभुः असंपन्न इवा भाति ब्रह्मवर्चस्य सत्तमः.
किं वा भागवता धर्माः, put a visarga there, न प्रायेण निरूपिताः प्रियाः परमहंसानां, त एव ह्यच्युत प्रियाः. Again that hya sound. किं वा भागवता धर्माः न प्रायेण निरूपिताः प्रियाः परमहंसानां त एव ह्यच्युत प्रियाः.
किं वा भागवता धर्माः न प्रायेण निरूपिताः प्रिया परमहंसानां त एव ह्यच्युतप्रियाः.
किं वा भागवता धर्माः न प्रायेण निरूपिताः प्रियाः परमहंसानां त एव ह्यच्युतप्रियाः.
तस्यैवं खिलमात्मानं, मन्यमानस्य खिद्यतः कृष्णस्य नारदोऽभ्यागात्. So the da that is there, we'll break it up. So naradobhyagath it, next word starts with a. Ashramam pragudahritam. तस्यैवं खिलमात्मानं मन्यमानस्य खिद्यतः कृष्णस्य नारदोऽभ्यागात् आश्रमं प्रागुदाहृतम्.
तस्यैवं खिलमात्मानं मन्यमानस्य विद्यतः कृष्णस्य नारदोऽभ्यागात् आश्रमं प्रागुदाहृतम्.
Sindhuji, that first line, मन्यमानस्य खिद्यतः, second kha, खिद्यतः.
Vidyata. Oh, did I say da?
Vidyate.
Oh,
You
I
said
said wa.
something
Okay.
else instead of the kha. Yeah.
Okay. Tasyaivam khilamatmanam manyamanasya khidyatah.
तस्यैवं किलमात्मानं मन्यमानस्य खिद्यतः कृष्णस्य नारदोऽप्यागात् आश्रमं प्रागुदाहृतम्.
Tam abhijnaya sahasa, pratyuttayagatam. That's one word. Pratyuttayagatam munihi pujayamasa vidivat. You'll have two nas there because you're going to break it. It becomes a it. So vidivat, naradam surapujitam. If you're saying it together, then you'll say pujayamasa vidivan naradam surapujitam. It'll become double na. If you're breaking it, it becomes it. तमभिज्ञाय सहसा प्रत्युत्थायागतं मुनिः पूजयामास विधिवत् नारदं सुरपूजितम्.
तमभिज्ञाय सहसा प्रत्युत्थायागतं मुनिः पूजयामास विधिवद नारदं सुरपूजितम्.
तमभिज्ञाय सहसा प्रद्युद्धायागतं मुनिः पूजयामास विधिवत् नारदं सुरपूजितम्.
इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां प्रथमस्कन्धे नैमिषीयोपाख्याने चतुर्थोऽध्यायः. Okay,
इति
we have
श्रीमद्
finish it, please.
इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां प्रथमस्कन्धे नैमिषीयोपाख्याने चतुर्थोऽध्यायः.
इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां प्रथमस्कन्धे नैमिषीयोपाख्याने चतुर्थोऽध्यायः.
We'll have a few minutes. We'll just wrap up, this chapter meaning. Only a little bit left. So kind of where we left was how Vyasa had kind of distributed all the Vedas. It went through the succession, right, to various peoples. And then he created the Puranas, who he gave to Romaharshana. And then he then started compiling Mahabharata for people who could not chant the Vedas, but it still had the essence of the Vedas in all of that. So even after all this was done, as Vyasa is kind of looking through, is contemplating, and he's seeing the Kali Yuga, and he's seeing all of these things, right? He's still not satisfied with himself, right? So although he had done all this for the mass of welfare of people, he was still not satisfied with all the activities he has done. So because, especially for somebody like a Vyasa, that perfection is very important. So although he cannot just walk away saying, I've done so much, I'm done. Somehow in his heart, he did not feel satisfied. So he felt like something was still, missing in his heart, right? So because of that, because so he starts contemplating to himself first. He says, I have undergone this strict vows, right? So what I've not only compiled this, but whatever the Vedas say, I also follow it. It's not like I'm just compiling it and preaching it. I also follow everything that the Vedas say. I worship everybody according to what the rituals are saying, the spiritual, principles which are there. I follow them to the dot, right? All the Vedic knowledge which are there, I'm following all of that stuff. And then I've also done the Mahabharata. I've also explained it, not just compiled the Mahabharata. He's also explained the essence of Mahabharata to everybody, so the common man can understand, right? To everybody, even the unqualified Kshatriyas, everybody have done. So he's saying, I'm still feeling unequipped, right? I feel something is missing. So, and he first, even before somebody else points out, he also is beginning to feel maybe I did not specifically talk about the devotional service of the Lord, right? And later on, also, Narada will also say, even if you're talking about the periphery around the Krishna, it is good enough. It is still devoted to Krishna, because when you're talking about what the Pandavas are doing, he says that is like chanting about Krishna only, because Krishna is there helping the Pandavas out. So they are Krishna's friends. So there's absolutely talking about Pandavas is as good as talking about Krishna. There should be no difference between those two, right? So Vyasa knows that. But he still feels that I do not specifically point out about the devotional service of Krishna. He says the reason for that, he says is when you do something, it depends on who is giving you the 5-star ratings, right? So if it is normal people coming and give you 5-star ratings, it is one level. But it has to be like the Paramahamsas have to give a 5-star rating, right? Because then it means that they are willing to come and do it, right? So while the Vedas and everything, of course, everybody used to chant all the knowledge, enlightened people do. Mahabharata and all, because it is like stories, the Paramahamsas don't care about it. The greatest of enlightened beings, they're like, yeah, you're just talking about, brothers and feud and all of these things. They don't generally care about it, right? So he then says, I need to do something which the Paramahamsas have to care about. Only then I know it is the greatest. Otherwise, it is like, 5-star rating is not worth it, right? So as he's sitting and thinking, what is missing? What do I need to be doing? So anytime you are looking for something, and if it is a good thing you are looking for, then Bhagavan will send somebody along the way. So right when Vyasa was sitting there and contemplating, at that time, Narada ends up reaching that place. So Narada ends up reaching it. And then he realizes what is happening to Vyasa. So that's how this chapter completes. So Narada is entering. So that's why it says in the 32nd line, Narado bhyagat ashramam pragudahritam. Narada enters the ashrama. Vyasa welcomes Narada and then gives him the respect that needs to be given to the creator itself, because Narada is directly from Brahma. So he's very superior. So he gives him the appropriate respects and welcomes Narada. That's where this chapter comes to an end. Next one is the conversation that's going to happen between Narada and Vyasa, and how Narada is going to help solve Vyasa's problem. So we'll see that in the next class. Shri Hare Namaha, Shri Hare Namaha, Shri Hare Namaha. Gopika Jeevana Smaranam, Govinda Govinda, Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Rajesh. Thank you,
Rajesh.
Rajesh.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.